Good evening, everybody, and welcome to day 7. 1 week, you guys. Can you believe it? Well, you are listening to the world's largest huge embarrassing failure. We had a mishap. We lost one. Parabol was one of the 3 chicks that the sapphire green eggers that were really, really tiny. They were the ones featured in the pasty butt issue or episode. She passed yesterday. I spent at least 18 hours trying to save that little chick, and there just wasn't. There was nothing doing. She was, as you can see, I've mentioned several times that Felicity and Parabola are much smaller than the rest. Like, here's little Felicity, and you can see her compared to Big Bruiser Blackbird there. Very tiny compared, and especially Falco. Falco's giant over here, being a bully as usual. So we've got that issue, and I've read, again, been reading, that a lot of the problem with pasty butt, it will stop them from growing. And so Felicity had pasty butt, as well as Parabol, our little friend over here. So as you can see, very small compared to the other ones. And I do believe that was because of the pasty butt issue. But Parabol started getting really weak. She was just kind of hanging out by herself. She wasn't eating, she wasn't drinking. So I checked her butt, as I do 2 to 3 times a day. I'm checking butts, and she had gotten plugged up again. And so I removed the plug, and there was her butt was distended out from her body. It looked like a giant hemorrhoid, and she would do this thing where she would like stiffen up her body, and like she would be standing and she would stiffen up her body and get really, really tall and do this little peep, beep, 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 like she was counting down, right? And she was trying to poop. And when she did that, it looked like an egg. Of course, I know they don't lay eggs until they're like, quite older than this, but it looked like a little egg, and it would try to come out where her little butt was sticking out, and then it would just hang there. And then she would relax and it would go back in a little bit so you couldn't see the white of it. But she went through that for a little bit, and I was like, all right, intervention is required. So I tried running her under some cold water or warm water, the same way that we removed the pasty butt with the warm water treatment. I thought maybe that would break that up in there. No dice. I read that Epsom salts baths, if you just take their little, like their abdomen and kind of dunk it in a warm Epsom salt bath, that can break that up. No dice. We did that 4 times, trying to get that to break up. And then I read that you can put just the tiniest bit of molasses in their water. So that was very common on YouTube, or not YouTube, but in videos and in articles and different things that, like, barnyard people that they do have channels and things, they were recommending this. So I was like, all right, so off to the store I go, and I get some molasses. So literally I dipped the spoon in the molasses and stirred it into a pretty big bowl of water, and I put it in with her. I had also isolated her from the rest of the chickens because I noticed that they had started picking at her butt, and they do that. They can start picking on each other if they have like any kind of wounds. So they were picking at her butt. So I pulled her out and put her in the medical bay. I'm sure you guys saw that yesterday. And so the molasses, I put it in the water, and of course she wasn't drinking, so I'm like, how do you get a chick to drink when they're not drinking? So I would take her and kind of dip her beak in the water, and then just kind of put some drops on the end of her beak, and she was drinking it. Well, that was when she took an incredible turn for the worse. So I would not ever, ever, ever recommend that you give a chick molasses. I read so many different articles that in threads in different forums that were like, oh, I used it and it worked great. Thank you for telling me to use molasses. It broke it up and she pooped immediately and everything, all's well, healthy chick. And I'm like, awesome, this has got to be the way. So I did it, and I can't say for certain that that's what killed her, because she was already in a pretty bad way at that point. But after I did the molasses treatment, things went downhill rapidly. She was very weak. Her little peeps just kept getting weaker and weaker. I tried doing the bath thing again. The egg did pop out. The little tiny, it was a very, very hard, tiny piece of poop that had, white poop that had just hardened and it formed an egg shape. It did come out, but there was more behind it. So she was incredibly impacted. I don't know. I'm like, am I worthy of chickens? Should I just take them and just take them back and be like, I kept 2 humans alive for 25 years, but somehow I can't keep these little chickens alive. So I'm trying really hard not to be too hard on myself. It was like a $4 chicken, but, God, the guilt. I'm just like, oh my God. So now I'm like hyper vigilant about the pasty butt. I, scared to death for Felicity. I keep checking her butt probably once every 2 hours. And then we've got poor little Parabola over there. His twin, Parabol, is gone. So we're going tomorrow. The Rural King, again, love Rural King. They're very cool. We called them and they said that they would replace it. Now, my ignorance to this was the biggest detriment in this whole situation. I saw that their butts were like that, like a day before I took action. And that's because I had no idea that this was even a thing. I grew up around chickens. We had a farm full of chickens. So I got chickens thinking, well, yeah, I've had chickens since I was little. Well, we always had farm-raised chickens. We never had shipped chickens. And from everything that I'm reading, the shipping is what really is not good for them. Like, I've seen videos of how they ship baby chicks, and it's harsh. It's hard to watch because they just dump them around like golf balls. Like, they're very, very not gentle. So, and then there's the transportation, the transport where they're in crates forever, and then they get to the store and they're hot, cold, and they're like a day old. So I'm trying to keep all of that in mind and not be too hard on myself, because I do think that, again, I saw it coming the day before I actually did something about it, but I didn't know what it was. I just thought that it was something that, happened, and it was just a process of being a chick. But no, pasty butt is deadly. It will kill a baby chick. When I read that, and I, had mentioned that in the pasty butt episode, I was like, really? But no, really, it will kill the baby. It will. So, big warning there. And I swear I'm not some idiot that just went out and bought a bunch of chickens without any prior knowledge of how to care for chickens. I promise you that's not the case. We had herds of chickens when I was little, and a chicken coop probably bigger than the house I'm in right now. But I had never experienced that. All the chickens that we had when I was little were hatched on the farm. We never went out and bought retail chickens. So I think that's why I had no idea about the pasty butt thing. So if anybody out there is thinking about getting any kind of chickens from a place that's not like directly from a farm, if you're going to Tractor Supply or Rural King or, your local outlet that sells baby chicks, and that they've shipped them, watch the babies like a hawk. If you see any little pieces of poo starting to harden and block them up, you got to get it out of there stat. So poor Felicity and poor Parabol, they're still super tiny. They are barely getting wings in, and again, I think that's because of the pasty butt. There's a good comparison right there. You can see Falco's wings are really sprouting, and poor little Felicity, she just still has little nubs, but they're starting to pop out. I've been watching her and Parabola really close because, God help me, I can't lose another one. Like, it's traumatic. It really is. Like, I held her, like she was in my hand when she died. It was freaking tragic, you guys. It was horrible. I can barely talk about it. So, yeah, got to keep an eye on my faves. Little Felicity. Her little wings are starting to pop out. This red light makes it so crappy because you really can't see what's going on there, but she's going to be a beautiful chick. And so is Parabola. Parabola is going to be beautiful. And then we've got, of course, little laddie over here. Look at her. God, I love these guys. I think that's why it was really bad when I lost that one. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. So, I'm going to get some more. I'm going to get them tomorrow. I'm hoping that we can get maybe like 3 or 4, maybe 5. Because, there's little... Well, because you can't just get one. And as we've learned, the different ages are not the best way to go. So we're gonna try to get several, and then we're gonna have their original box will be their home until they get big enough to mix and mingle. And I'm seriously contemplating putting the babies, the little tiny babies, Felicity and Parabola, putting them in with the new chicks since they're still tiny. And maybe that'll give them a chance to catch up to the rest of them. Because they kind of get bullied out of the food bowl. I watch them very closely because one sign that they're having issue is that they stop eating and drinking. So I've been making sure that they eat. But the big chickens do shove them out a lot, as you can see. Like, they're shoving them around, trying to get them out of there. And so they do good, though. I think I'm going to get a second feeder for this bigger group, so that way we can have maybe less of that, because some of the Beanstalk brothers are still pretty tiny too. And trust me, I've been checking their butts, and they're all clear. Everybody's clear right now. So I'm hoping that everything improves. I put these little pieces of wood in here because you know how roosters and hens and chickens like to roost, and I thought these chickens aren't going to use these things, but look at that. There they are, roosting already. Such little babies. So I call those their enhancement features, so they can have some educational enhancement. And then we still have their decorations, which they do play with. They go over and peck the bottoms of the cords, and it's pretty funny. But yep, so we're all doing well. We're going to have some more tomorrow. And here's to keeping everyone alive until we're past this. I feel like such a fool. I really thought we were past it, but no, it's a thing. Maybe for another week. I'll still have to make sure everybody's good. So yeah, that's the scoop. And you can see these wings here. Oh goodness, they are popping. Yeah, so kind of sad today, kind of no fun, but these guys don't seem to mind. It's like nothing ever happened. So there you have it. All right, well, hopefully we'll be able to, if their shipment comes in tomorrow like it's supposed to, hopefully we'll be able to show some more little babies tomorrow. Maybe get some different kinds. You never know. But we'll see how it goes. Everyone have a good evening. See you later.